Last week, the Arkansas Supreme Court struck down a ballot initiative that would have enshrined the right to abortion in that state's constitution. And while the court certainly is to be applauded for this decision, just in all fairness and honesty, look, there were efforts by many groups, many individuals who worked to keep that proposed amendment off the ballot. One of those was the Family Council, whose president now joins me to talk about this, Jerry Cox of the Family Council. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on the program and just appreciate the great work that you guys are doing.
Hey, listen, back at you. Great work. Congratulations. This is a huge win. Why don't we just start right there? Tell us a little bit more about what this ballot initiative was all about.
Well, Arkansas is one of the states that has the ballot initiative process where people can go out and get signatures and put a measure on the ballot. And so that's exactly what the pro-abortion folks did. They gathered enough signatures, they thought at least, to qualify for the ballot and put a measure on the ballot to amend the Arkansas Constitution that would, as you said, enshrine abortion into our state constitution. It was a very bad measure. It would have legalized abortion for the entire 9 months of pregnancy in many cases, and pretty much obliterated all of the good restrictions that we've had on abortion to protect the health and safety of women. But, we and others around the state organized committees and launched a massive effort to urge people across the state of Arkansas to not sign the abortion petition. And I've been around the petition process for almost 40 years here in Arkansas, and I've never seen that many people rise up all at once and urge people not to sign a petition. We believe that reduced their number of signatures probably by about 50% when they should have gathered nearly 200,000. They barely gathered 100,000. And that was with hiring almost 300 paid canvassers. So hats off to all the people around the state that stepped up and held up placards that said decline to sign. I think it made a huge difference. And without getting into a lot of technicalities, I think it lowered their numbers enough that they really did not have a case when the Secretary of State disqualified them.
Wow. Incredible. Well, again, hats off to you and all the many, as you also give credit to individuals and organizations involved in that process. Can you tell us a little bit about the Supreme Court decision itself?
Well, I was amused because about 10 years ago, the gambling interest of all people, trying to protect their monopoly on gambling, got some laws passed that are very specific when it comes to how you do your filings of paperwork and so forth when you do a ballot measure. And they did that so they could stop people who are trying to change the Constitution that would affect their gambling monopoly. Well, those laws have been sitting there for about 10 years. And lo and behold, it was the abortion folks who failed to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And the law is very specific. It's like a football game. You may be running for the goal line and there's nobody there to stop you, but if you step out of bounds just a little bit, it's all over. And that's what they did. And I just thought, how odd that it was the gambling interest that put this law in place, and yet it tripped up the abortion folks when they were trying to amend the Constitution.
That is really funny. I was not aware of that part of the story, Jerry. That is, the old boomerang effect. And it's great that of all people, the boomerang came back around figuratively and hit them in the head this time. That's
it
great.
Did. And nobody knew much about that law. It had just been sitting there. And, thanks to the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, they looked real hard at the law and they said, you know what? I'm sorry, but you just didn't qualify according to the law. And laws matter.
Well, they do matter. Let me wrap up. Last question here. What message does all of this send, do you think, for other states? What would you say to other states?
Well, I would say, first of all, launch a very aggressive grassroots effort and urge people not to sign the petition. That was a game changer because, without getting into the weeds too much, if they had gathered 3,000 more signatures, just 3,000 more, they would have had a case then to say this effort needs to go forward. We need a 30-day cure period. We need all these constitutional guarantees. But because our people around the state, and I mean all of them, blunted their signature effort just enough, they fell about 3,000 signatures short. Had that not occurred, I think we would still be fighting this measure.
Wow, that's remarkable, and that it shows yet again that every vote matters, every signature matters, every attempt to do the right thing matters. 3,000 votes is very, very little when you're talking about an entire state. Jerry Cox, thank you so much for the incredible work that you have done. And all your co-laborers. This is fantastic news, and we here at FRC, along with people all across this country, are celebrating right alongside you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all the prayers.